Have you ever wondered why so many capable, ambitious women end up stalled in careers that look successful on paper? This is the 100th episode, and instead of celebrating the number, I'm sharing what 100 conversations have revealed about women, work, and why so many careers stop moving forward. Not because women lack confidence, not because they lack ambition, but because their value is often misunderstood, misread, or quietly mispositioned. In this episode, I'm unpacking the biggest pattern I've seen across working women, senior leaders, and high performing women at every stage and what actually has to change for careers to feel aligned instead of heavy. If you've ever felt trusted but not elevated, successful but stuck, this conversation will help you understand why. Let's dive in. Welcome to Career Growth for Working Women. If you're ambitious, capable, and quietly carrying more than your role reflects, you're in the right place. I'm Shannon, promotion and compensation coach, and I help women fast track their next promotion by teaching them how to show their value so clearly leadership can't overlook them. Here, we talk about career advancement, visibility, burnout recovery, and building confidence without burning yourself out or shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. So grab your coffee or reheat it for the third time and let's get into it. Today is the 100th episode of the show, and instead of celebrating the number, I wanted to talk about what that number represents. Because 100 episodes means 100 different entry points into women's careers, 100 windows into how capable, intelligent, ambitious women experience work, 100 chances to notice patterns most people never slow down enough to see. And there is one pattern I have seen more than any other. It is not lack of confidence. It is not lack of ambition. It is not lack of skill, intelligence, or work ethic. It is mispositioning. Not dramatic, not obvious, often invisible from the inside. Women who are doing everything right but are being understood incorrectly. Women who are successful on paper but feel their careers are heavier than they should be. Women who are contributing deeply but not being moved forward. Women who are trusted, relied on, appreciated but not elevated. And the most important thing I have learned over these 100 episodes is this. Most women are not stuck because they're broken. They are stuck because the way they create value is not being recognized in the way leadership rewards. Let me say that another way. Most women do not need to change who they are. They need to change how their value is interpreted. That distinction changes everything. Because when you think the problem is you try to fix yourself. When you realize the problem is positioning, you start asking different questions. Here's something I want to name clearly. I have never worked with a woman who was not already leading in some way. Some lead through execution, they move work forward, they create momentum, and they make things happen. Some lead through relationships, they stabilize teams, they build trust, they hold emotional and cultural weight. Some, they lead through influence. They shape conversations. They bring energy. They move people. And some lead through clarity. They see patterns. They anticipate risk and they think ahead. Every one of these creates value. But here's the part that gets missed. Organizations do not reward value evenly. They reward what they can recognize easily. And this is where mispositioning begins. Because a woman can be creating enormous impact and still not be legible to leadership. Not invisible, not ignored, just misunderstood. That is why so many women tell me, I don't know why this feels so hard. I feel like I'm doing more but getting less. I don't understand why I'm not being considered. And here's what I've learned. Most women are not unclear about their worth. They are unclear about how their worth is being read. That is a very different problem than confidence. Over these 100 episodes, I have watched women internalize things that were never personal. They assumed, I need to be more confident, or I need to be more visible, or I need to be more strategic, or I need to speak up more. And sometimes those things help, but often they create more friction because the issue was not effort, it was alignment. Leadership was responding to the wrong signal. A woman whose value showed up through execution kept getting more work instead of more authority. A woman whose value lived in relationships kept being relied on without being rewarded. A woman whose influence filled rooms was praised, not promoted. A woman whose strategic thinking stayed internal was underestimated, not because they lacked leadership, but because leadership did not know how to categorize them. And people rarely promote what they cannot categorize. This is the part that changes how you see your career. Because when you realize that advancement is not just about performance, you stop blaming yourself for things that were never about effort. You stop asking, what am I doing wrong? And you start asking, what story is my work telling? That question alone, it creates relief because it shifts you out of self-critique into discernment. One of the most important things I have learned from this show is how much energy women spend over functioning. Not because they want to, but because they think it's the price of being taken seriously. They carry more, they absorb more, they prove more, and they assume that one day it will pay off. And sometimes it does, but often it cements a role. And then women feel guilty for wanting more, impatient for asking for clarity, ungrateful for feeling frustrated. And that guilt keeps them quiet. That quiet keeps them mispositioned. This is why I'm so intentional about saying this. You are not asking for too much. You are asking from a position that has not been translated yet. That is not entitlement, that is timing. Another pattern I have seen over and over is this. Women wait to be chosen, not because they lack ambition, but because they were taught that good work gets noticed, that being dependable creates opportunity, that staying professional will be rewarded. And sometimes that is true, but leadership does not choose based on effort alone. They choose based on readiness that can imagine. And imagination requires visibility of a very specific kind. Not loudness, not self-promotion, not performance, but clarity. Clarity about how you think, clarity about how you decide, clarity about how you create impact. When clarity is missing, women can be respected without being envisioned, trusted without being positioned. This is one of the most painful places to be because it looks like success, but it does not feel like growth. If there's one thing I hope women take from these 100 episodes, it's this. Your career is not supposed to feel like constant effort. It's supposed to feel aligned. Challenging? Yeah. Stretching? Yes. Meaningful? Yes. But not confusing, not draining, not heavy in a way that does not make sense. When it does feel that way, it's usually not because you're failing. It's because the strategy that got you here has expired. And that is not a problem. It is a transition. This is why I talk so much about the 5% method. Not as a checklist, not as a process to follow, but as a different way about thinking about growth. Small shifts, intentional visibility, clear language, sustainable leadership, not more effort, more leverage. Over 100 episodes, I have watched what happens when women start trying to be everything and start being intentional. They get clearer, they get calmer, and they stop chasing validation. They stop over-explaining, and leadership responds differently. Not overnight, not magically, but consistently. Because when your value becomes legible, it becomes actionable. If you've been listening to this show and recognizing yourself, I want you to know something. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are likely further along than you think. What you are feeling is not failure. It's readiness. Readiness for a different approach. Readiness for positioning instead of proving. Readiness for growth that does not require exhaustion. 100 episodes have taught me this. When women understand how they create value and learn how to let that value be seen clearly, everything changes. Not all at once, not without effort, but without the constant friction. And that is what I want for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting this space. Thank you for being willing to see yourself honestly and without judgment. We are just getting started. I will see you next time. Before you go, I want you to know this. You don't have to figure out your next move alone. If you're feeling stuck, under-recognized, or unsure what's realistically possible in your current role, I offer promotion strategy calls where we walk through your goals, your role, and what makes the most sense for you next. No pressure, just clarity. You can book that call through the link in the description. And if this episode resonated, would you share it with another woman who might need it right now? Leaving a review also helps this show reach more women who are ready for real career growth. I'll see you next time.